Hi there. In this lecture we see Mikhail Tal playing against Martin Johansson, Senior. So this is 1961 Stockholm Tournament round 8. We see e4 from Tal, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, bishop g5. We have knight bd7, bishop c4, queen a5, so that hits the bishop, and also means knight takes e4, it also pins this knight. So queen d2 addresses both those issues. e6, white castles queenside, b5, the bishop drops back, bishop b7, rook he1, bishop e7, f4, knight c5, and now Tal takes on f6. We have g takes f6, king b1, b4, and here a very, very interesting move. Guess what Tal plays? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, what would you play here? Okay, knight d5. Yeah, the king's still in the center, and we want to try and keep it there. Knight takes e4 is played. It turns out that maybe e takes d5 is not so terrible after e takes. King f8. This looks very, very grovelly and giving white a magnificent knight on f5, but can we actually prove a white win here after queen d4? Say taking, a takes, this situation, g4, queen takes d5, queen takes d5. This situation is going to be an advantage for white. It does seem there is a way of getting an advantage in that line, but what if black didn't take on g4 and just took on d5 here, just giving the piece back? So giving the piece back immediately. If white takes this here, now rook takes g4, it's very different. Rook d4, and white still has an advantage, though. It's the endgame advantage. There are weak pawns here. Okay, so yes, in fact, you know, it looks as though e takes does, from the evidence so far, these lines don't seem to be doing that well. White does actually have substance behind the sacrifice. If queen c7, rook e3, white here can play actually rook takes e7 in a timely manner, and for example this situation is rather dangerous for black with that knight sitting on f5. So yeah, the intuition does seem very, very strong for Tal for this situation. It does seem as though, and Tal would say it would be weird sometimes if some of his sacrifices weren't sound, and it is, you know, because fundamentally the fundamentals are there, the really, really aggressive pieces. Black's rooks don't really have much to do. So, you know, these scenarios are very dangerous. King safety compromised. And if we look again, instead of rook e3, also, you know, knight takes e7, queen takes f6. This is another situation which could end up being, you know, very, very good for white. Even though black technically has the bishop, white's got a lot of prospects here, indeed. Very, very tricky positions. So overall, yeah, knight takes e4 was deemed safer. So it does seem very sensible. We have rook takes e4, bishop takes d5, bishop takes d5, queen takes d5. It turns out maybe there's an improvement on bishop takes d5, which is just to drop the rook back and wait for black to take. If black takes, white might get an interesting file here, and this situation is very pleasant for white. So even though black has the extra pawn, the king in the center, there's great compensation. So bishop takes d5 though, queen takes, queen e2, queen b7, and here the rook is taken out of the glare of the queen, which means this queen doesn't have to support the rook, which means in turn one needs to now be on the lookout for potential threats of this queen, given that it's not like bound, it's not tied down to the e4 rook. And the blunders are all there waiting to be made, as Tartakower indicates. Black does kind of blunder, not with an immediate self-destruct move, as in an immediate self-pin or an immediate self-deflection, etc., but allowing a tactical device. So black actually played d5. So what kind of tactical device do you think has been allowed by this move, which is rather devastating, in fact? So the expression pin and win comes into mind. Black should have played, before we get into that actually, or rather another clue, I'll give you another clue. h5 should have been played. And this situation, even though it looks terrifying, black actually does have resources to try and cling on with best play. Although good luck finding those resources in a real game, that's for sure. It would be about even, but good luck finding that in a real game with the clock running. So anyway, d5 was played. So I've given you a clue. What does white play here? Which is a winning position now. Okay, for 200 points, what would you play here? Although it's not an immediate self-pinning move, it allows a pin. It allows a pin, the f7 pawn. And that means e6 is under fire now. Totally under fire. Because the power of the pin piece is illusionary. So h5 was necessary to stop this pinning move. You know, the expression pin and win is very, very potent in chess. And so a move which actually stops a pawn being pinned can actually make the difference between drawing, in this case, and losing. You know, h5 had to be played to stop that pin. And rather go in for the more difficult to exploit pin variation. In fact, chess is complicated, isn't it? Because there is a kind of another pin blast. If you think, you know, technically this is very dangerous, kind of nearly pinning it. But anyway, as we saw, there was the resources there. But with queen h5, black's in big trouble. If black castles queenside, white simply snaps off f7, and another pawn is going next. For example, like this is unfortunate, and white's got an absolutely dominating position. This is just a crushing positional advantage, and other things will be dropping off soon. So we see king f8 being played instead of casting queenside, but guess what Tal plays here for 50 points? And it ends the game. Okay, it's rook takes e6. Yeah. Okay, if the game continued, black resign here. If f takes, because otherwise this looks terrible if that, you know, the structure has been totally compromised. So let's imagine taking. Knight takes e6, check. King g8. What do we have here for 50 points? We're controlling a lot of key escape squares, so we really want to keep these guys intact sometimes that control the escape squares, and bringing in another piece to do a killer check. That's often the case when you control escape squares around the king. You want to bring in another piece, rook lift, rook d3. And if bishop f8, you know, check here, and we're taking, and it's just carnage. We're going to be like winning the queen, for example. Or h6 is the immediate check, and mate, the knight's covering f8. Or f5 again, you know, this is just total disaster. So yes, bishop, after the rook takes e6, this is just, it's all over basically. It's a crushing position. So one mistake, allowing a pin, not going to the immediate self pin, but allowing a pin, can be so fatal. But the king, what makes it more difficult, the whole situation, the king's still in the centre. And technically you could also say, you know, castling queenside would have been good, except the king does actually need to protect f7. If f7 drops, the whole pawn chain is being undermined on castling queenside. So it is pretty bad news, this queen h5, from all angles. Even if it's not mating the king or winning enormous amounts of material, it's still winning positions, result, whatever happens here. So yes, a very interesting game. So after king f8, that was chosen. Rook takes e6, a crushing blow. I hope you enjoyed that, and be more aware, perhaps, that the power of pins is absolutely phenomenal. So one shouldn't be going into self-pins in principle, or even allowing pins. They can all lead to terrible losses. So, but bear that in mind from both sides of the coin. Look at both sides of the coin there, as a defender or an attacker. Okay, thanks so much. Hi there. Thanks for getting to the end of the YouTube video. If you would like to see other Mikhail Tal games, I actually have an amazing course for Mikhail Tal, which is currently at 4.9 with over 400 students. You can check this out from the Kingscrusher TV page. So Chess Strategy and Tactics, Mikhail Tal's amazing games. You can check out some free preview videos as well here. If you do expand all sections, you can see the preview links to get some free previews. So I hope you do check out this course index and the free previews. So I really had a thrilling time actually checking out Mikhail Tal's games. So yeah, the YouTube video here you saw was just a sample from this course. I hope you check it out. Okay, thanks so much. Oh, by the way, comments, questions, likes, shares, all appreciated. And if you did get to this part of the video, please do leave some sort of comment like Tal fan. Okay, thanks again.